and Sarah. Hello, so good to see
Hello.
you. Thanks for
Anytime,
joining
y'all.
us. Okay, we're so excited. We have another Quora conversation. I'm Yuli Lee with Quora Collective. Today, I'm joined by Alex John.
Hello, hello.
Another,
Good to be here. What a treat.
it'll be a fun conversation. We'll introduce Sarah and Shin more formally in a little bit. But if you don't know about Quora, our vision is to create a kingdom culture of leadership that is both generous and spacious for all Asian American Christian ministry and marketplace leaders across all generations.
That's
And
right.
and what we do is we do a lot of things, but once a month we go live like we are doing right now with incredible guests to unpack a whole variety of things. Today we're focusing on Sarah and Shin's book launches for their two new children's books that they have out. Oh, look at that. It's
Look
so
at that.
beautiful. I know. So pretty. The Great Waking Up and The Deliverer Has Come. One is a Christmas book and the other one is for Easter, but we're going to be covering both. And then we can show these clips again next year and we'll do a deep dive later. But let me introduce our guests a little bit more formally. And then Alex is going to do a little fun intro for us as well. So, Sarah is a Korean American theologian who loves helping the church share Jesus' story. She is the author of Beyond Colorblind and earned her PhD in systematic theology. Yep, there's her book at the University of Aberdeen. Sarah holds a master's degree from MIT and and other master's degrees, okay? Master's degrees in theology from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary and also the University of St. Andrews. She is a lecturer at Westminster Theological Center in the UK. And Sarah is married to Shin, who is sitting right next to her. So happy to have a married couple with us today. And they live with their daughter in Scotland. We'll talk all about that. But let me talk about Shin a little bit and brag on Shin. Shin is a Korean American illustrator living in Scotland with his wife, Sarah, who is right there, and their daughter, like we just talked about. He has a master's degree in urban leadership. That is so cool from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. Shin has been creating for churches, organizations, theologians, and publishers for over 15 years. You're going to see you saw his illustration behind Joel Toe's webinar yesterday and also behind Alex right now. He's sitting right in front of one of Shin's illustrations, which is amazing. Shin loves roaming around Scottish ruins, going on adventures with Jesus, and sharing those stories with new and old friends. Welcome, Shin and Sarah. So glad to have you here.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So good to be with you all. It's so interesting. As we get into this and get to know each other, I think all four of us identify as ethnically Korean Americans. So we're like 1 degree of separation. So it's neat to hear like how but we've never met in person. So I'll
Yeah.
start with Sarah. When I first talked with Shin, I said, "Oh, there's a woman named Sarah Shin that I've never met, but I read a book called Beyond Colorblind." Oh yeah, that's my wife. Like what? What? Of course, there's connections. It's so funny. By the way, Sarah, you have to save some of the degrees for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Don't be so Korean. My goodness. Ah, anyway, no, I think
I see
it's
your
so.
Dr. Oro behind you, Dr.
Oh,
John.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's like
If
perfectly
my mom
placed.
ever watches, she needs to see. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, but it's so good to connect with both of you, Sarah, because of the work that you've done. When was that book published? 2017? Is that
That's right.
2017? Yeah. And so it was such a impactful, timely book for me as I read it. And then more recently with Shin Mang, being able to work with you, talking about different things with you, and purely online. So it's so neat. And it was because I was doing a little promotional for Helen and her
Yep.
book, and you were the illustrator for that book,
Mhm.
Kaylee Prays for the World. And so it's so neat how these things have come together. But I was most fascinated because you all are both in Scotland, and maybe we can talk a little bit about Scotland first, because
Yeah.
to be honest, that is one place on earth that I really want to go.
Same.
because
Oh,
they have, before meeting you two, the two most important things in my life: golf and Scotch. And so I could spend a month in Isla and I could just play all the golf courses. But you've both made Scotland your home, and tell us a little bit about how long you've been there, and what the heck you're doing there.
well, so when Beyond Colorblind came out in 2017, I was also we were both finishing our master's degrees, right? And we were anticipating having a baby that in 2018. And Shin really encouraged me to consider further studies. And I was like, look, we're about to have a baby. Women's brain chemistries change. Like, I'm not, because he's like, you should like think about Scotland. You've always talked about wanting to go to Scotland. I'm like, that's just crazy, especially because we had our daughter in our late 30s. We're like, we should like settle down. But he really kind of advocated for my dreams of more study. So when our daughter was 1 year old, we moved, and it was actually a for me, like our daughter is lovely, but pregnancy was difficult. Postpartum body mobility things were so restrained. So he basically carried me across an ocean. Like I could barely like walk when I started my studies, and we got here 6 months before COVID, and we actually haven't. We stayed here first in St. Andrews, and then we moved up to Aberdeen, which is about 2 hours north, and we've built life here, and we actually feel like the Lord's told us to stay here for
Mm,
longer. What more do you want to add to that?
wow.
Yeah.
Um, well, no, I mean, the Scottish people are just amazing here. They're just really friendly. And also there's this like, in Korean culture where um if you're not being made fun of, then they don't really love you. Like this like love of sarcasm, like language of love is like sarcasm. It is very much like that. If you can't make fun of yourself or someone can't make fun of you, you're just like you're
Yeah.
just like, "Ugh, they're just English or whatever." And there's a lot of just it's I've just fallen in love with the people here.
Yeah.
We have a neighbor up the street that way, and his name's Ian, his wife is Susan, and he just is the funniest human being ever. He's from Glasgow, and they're like generally the most welcoming and funniest people. And he will just make fun of me and Sarah, like
But in
because
like a loving
in a
way.
loving way
You know,
of like,
lots of chong, like lots of affection. Yeah.
Mm.
yeah, there's just all this stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting because living in Scotland, white people come in all kind of varieties, but Scottish folks, they can do nonverbal and kind of indirect, but they kind of catch all those nuances and things that a lot of Asia, like particularly East Asians, grow up talking about, right? So that's been fascinating, right? Where I'm like, wait, like you look white, but you can get subtext and you get like honoring elders, and there's a number of things. And so
Mhm.
when we moved up from St. Andrews after living there for about 3 years, up to Aberdeen, like our neighbors, we basically lived around all these like senior citizens, older great grandparents, and there was one neighbor in particular. Like every day, Shin would walk by because he was a primary caregiver of our daughter, and this old man, and he would just stick his thumbs up and just like not say anything but just kind of smile at him, and just basically tell him he was doing a good job. And
Wow.
we were across an ocean, we're far away from family, right? And so when it was time for us to move, Alex's wife Jean, she told us like told Shin, "You're better than my sons," and she has like many children, right? And Alec, he couldn't really walk. He had a lot of diabetic kind of complications. So Shin just knelt in front of him, and they held hands, and they just wept.
Oh my goodness.
Like it was there's like so much affection that that's been really striking for us. I'm not saying like everything's perfect, but there's been a kind of affection and an ability to love the other that's been very unique to us
Mm.
in our experience of
Beautiful.
being Korean Americans in Scotland. And our neighbors have loved us like their own. Our daughter was never cold because she was hand knit these beautiful cabled sweaters since she was like one, like 40 of them. Jean
Wow.
would knit all of them, and I think when they would see her, they would be like, "She's gorgeous," and There was none of this like some random Asian actor that looks nothing like, they're just like, she's just gorgeous. And we're like, wow, they don't have a category for East Asians. There's
Mhm.
really not that many,
Yeah.
So they just like loved her and loved us.
Beautiful story. My
And
goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys should just keep, you were gatekeeping Scotland so well, and now everyone's going to, millions of viewers are going to see this. And
it's very cold.
It,
It's very cold and very dark.
well, okay.
We're from Boston.
But like, okay, come in the summertime. I'll just say that. Come in the summertime. But the wintertime, it is like today, I think the sun set around 3 or 4 o'clock
What?
p.m. And like the sun rises, sun rises at like, I don't know, 8 o'clock, maybe something like that. It's really dark in the winter. Like all the kids are given vitamin D like supplements constantly. I eat like a whole bunch because it's so tough. It's very dreek, as they would say here. I was telling Yuli that about this word. It means rainy, cold, wet. Just dreek, just kind of feel it in the bones. And but there's also like it is just, but it's beautiful. Like in the summertime, it's constantly 3 p.m. all day because it doesn't set. Like the sun rises at 4 o'clock, the sun sets at midnight, so you really only sleep for 4 hours, really. And you can and Alex, you can play golf like all day long if you really really wanted to. So
I'm
It's a dream
sold.
come
I have to
true.
come
the
visit.
weather is
Yeah.
amazing. It's wild. It's and the people are fantastic. I think they're probably the friendliest people I've ever met.
Wow.
Mm,
Okay, that's a good
I love
redeeming
that.
quality for white people. Scotland's going to have to lead the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful.
But the
Wonderful.
one thing that why they would be great to leading the way is because they have a history. They like know their history.
Mm.
The one thing we were when we first moved, we didn't have a home for a month. So we just drove around Scotland, Airbnb the whole place. And we were up really, really north. And we went to some restaurant or something. And I was talking to the person, our wait staff or something, and they were telling me about this thing called the clearances. And they were like, oh, these nobles, they were kicking people out and they were sending people to the cities. And it just felt personal. Like it was like so personal to this person. And I was like, man, did this happen a couple of years ago? When did this happen? And he was like, it happened like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And so there's this really deep knowledge of just history and what has happened. Unlike, I think, in America, I think there is this amnesia of history or rewriting of history,
That's
but
right.
it's not so much here. And that's why also I feel like I connect with the Scottish people as well, because Korea and Scotland are similar because they
Yeah.
have like this Japan, Korea kind of thing, and England and Scotland kind of
Yes.
like enmity in some regard. And
Wow.
so you never call a Scottish person an Englishman, and that would just be like a middle finger. So we don't want to do that. But so there's this deep, deep resonance of history. So I think that Americans could really learn, like white Americans especially, and I think it's really healing for people of color too. I think to be here around white people and be like, I'm welcomed, I'm loved, I'm cherished. They want me to buy a kilt. They want me to like drink a dram. Like I remember this one time I was walking with my daughter, and we're pushing her pram or her stroller, and this old grandma just comes along next to me, and she's sharing her whole life story with me.
Oh.
And it reminded me of this one story where my mom would say in Korea, where she would walk in the countryside next to some stranger, and they would just talk about life. And by the time they had to part ways, they had become friends.
Wow.
And I literally had those moments, and still to this day, I have those moments in Scotland, walking alongside someone on the bus with someone, and they're just pouring out their life, their soul. It is actually really healing in many regards. And also they see me as an American.
Yeah, and I think that's been fascinating because America is very optical. right? It's basically
Mm-hmm.
I see what you look like and I make assumptions about you. So the UK and Scotland, like, is oral, so they hear us. So it's like the first time for us, like we're in our mid 40s, and where we'll start talking, they'll be like, "You're American," like I'm like, because they can hear our accent,
Mhm.
and then eventually then we talk about, oh yeah, we're also ethnically Korean, but for them the sound comes first. And we also realize our American accents are a privilege. Like, I think if we had a different accent, we would probably have a harder time.
Yeah.
A lot of Scottish people love Americans, so and often people that look like us don't sound like us, right? They might sound like they're from different parts of Asia, or they might sound more like a posh kind of Southern English sort of sound. So it's been very funny in terms of the novelty of how we sound and how we look. And then I could also say, like, I don't know anything about being like Scottish, like white Scottish. Tell me. And they're like, I don't know anything about being Korean and American. Like, tell me. So it's been this what conversation should be, which is that I don't know and I want to learn. And so that novelty has actually been really good to be in. It's not always perfect. Definitely he gets, like, some people that, say stuff to him or act up. And then, we're from Jersey. We grew up in New Jersey, but this
Oh,
is
I'm
where
sorry.
like we're close enough to New York. We'll be like I'm from New York, right? And then there's like false flex, and then like the guys that try to say something, like do something racist, they like run away. So it's been
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. And also they don't expect me to they just expect me to be East Asian from East Asia. And I think and there's other things too, like and I kind of overdo it here just because
He says what and what and what. Like, he is a Jersey
I'm a
boy.
Jersey
Right?
kid.
So,
Um and
You need to
yeah,
represent us better, man. Come on.
I know it's so terrible, but the thing is in Asia and like in Korea and in yeah, in East Asian countries, we oftentimes when you're in a shop, you don't say hi when you enter into a shop, or you're never saying hi to a random stranger. Um and in Scotland, you're saying hiya to everybody and anybody, and you're going to say hi to or say hello or something to the person in the store who's working in the store. You're always going to make eye contact. Those are all the opposite things that you don't do in East Asia. So when they see me and Sarah and Jordan saying hiya and greeting people and talking about the weather and all this stuff, they already I'm already winning points.
so I think for us, our experience is distinctly like Asian American, like
Yeah.
Korean American, but then being like in Scotland and as children that grew up of like our parents are immigrants, right?
Mhm.
So we're like, we kind of know, we've watched our parents do the immigrant life, so we're doing it again. But the thing is, we speak English, right? And like we understand enough, past the brogue and the accents
Mhm.
that we can kind of make life work. So it's been very
Wow.
Yeah.
fascinating for us to be
So
second time
absolutely
around.
fascinating. And
I
what comes
know.
to mind for me, I feel like I need to say it. God showing his favor upon you in a place
Mm.
where just from the outside looking in, I'm like, oh, it must be really, really hard. And I'm sure it is. But as you're sharing this, God's favor feels like it's upon the family.
Yeah.
So encouraging.
Yeah.
I want to
I
say for the
totally
Shin
agree.
family, but can you, just for clarity now, I'm going to ask all the things that I want
Yes.
to. So names here, it's Meng Shin, but it's Sarah Shin. What is your last name, and how is this working?
Okay, so my full my first my surname, as they would say here, is Meng. So my last name is
Yes.
Meng, and my first name is Shin, and my middle name is Young. So Shin Young, yeah. And
Yep.
so my last name is very, very uncommon. Meng is super uncommon. So one of my ancestors, he worked under the king, I think in some sort of way. The king had noticed him and he said, "You are no longer a Kim, you are now a Meng." And there's a Chinese character for it, there's a Hanja character for it, and it literally means government official. And after that, the Mang clan started. And so my name is also it's an interesting name. Shin Young is oftentimes a girl's name. because Shin is also faith, and Young is Young One Han, so forever. So forever faithful is a very beautiful, like meaningful, wonderful name. But mine does not mean that. Mine is like the ramen noodles. It is Shin ramen noodles forever.
Spicy.
Spicy forever.
I
And my grandfather just went to a Buddhist monk and paid some money and just said the dates and time, and
yes.
there you go. Shin
Love it.
They know what they're doing. Yeah.
And so my last name is Shin, and first name is Sarah. And when we came together, it's almost like if some I don't know some if a Westerner whose last name is Stewart ended up dating someone whose first name was Stewart, you could be like, the Stewarts are here or something, right? So our friends were like, the Shins are here, and we're like, that's really fun. Like, let's keep that. So our wedding invitation said, you work, you play. And instead of love happens, I switched it out to Shin happens.
That's cute.
Instagram handle. And then now we're like, this is a terrible idea, because every hotelier, insurance company, they're like, surely there's been a typo. We're like, nope, we were whimsical, very not smart 30-year-olds that got married and kept it.
However, I will say the South Asian community totally gets it though.
So then, because then sometimes they take on the first name, and so then here they're like, okay,
Yes.
so then they don't think we're being whimsical. They're like, is there some sort of South Asian Indian equivalent? And we're like, so that's been fascinating, because in the States we're
Wow.
just silly.
Yeah.
And now they're
Yeah.
like, there's some sort of cultural thing that I don't want to offend you about. We're like, nope.
That's good. Oh my god! Thank you. I'm on this call just to get answers to questions I've had that I'm sure other people are too afraid to ask.
We're like, where are we gonna
Yes. Yes. I was one of those people confused by the name, too afraid to ask. But now we know. Sarah and Shin, I love, well, you said this earlier, but this idea of how when people know their stories and their histories, how it can be healing to ourselves, but also to other people who enter into our stories. And I think that's so beautiful and something that I've experienced personally as well. And just, writing on that storytelling piece, I'm also curious. Now, this is my question of the day as well. So, you two are married, you are a writer illustrator duo. I want to hear the story of how you became this partnership thing. How did you become partners with each other in work as well?
So I so when I met Sarah, I was not an illustrator extraordinaire. I was a man of many, many giftings and many, many talents. I was a postman for the United States Postal Service. I was delivering mail in Essex, Connecticut. And through friends at my church, I went to a vineyard church that was very, very artistic. A lot of artists, poets, painters, all this stuff. They encouraged me to create, and she also encouraged me to create. And I also I did a lot of college ministry, so I somehow procured and came upon just a lot of art supplies here and there. Just as the years went on, I was just a collection bin essentially, and I just was like, let me just draw, and I started drawing, and she was like, it's okay, it's not that great, and I was like,
I studied
whatever.
architecture. I'm like, if it's not good, I'm not gonna say it's good.
She's the real, like, her
You gotta be
family's
good
more
for me to say
artistic.
that,
I was just a lowly postman, just hanging out and responding to my friends, and because we had this beautiful art group that we just respond to each other's art, and I was just doing it for funsies. And one day she was like, "Oh, it's really good. You should, like, it could sell." And then for some reason, it just unlocked something in my brain, and
I had no idea.
and I just started drawing like a crazy person.
This poor man is like coming to dates, like bringing me like lovely, like drawing. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm like,
it's like, that's okay.
And then we started drawing together.
Yeah.
Actually, so there were a lot of pieces where he would draw the lines, I would draw the color, and so we're doing this, and he was growing in a lot, just expressing a lot of things he had kind of not engaged in for a while. That's a much longer story.
Yeah.
I worked for InterVarsity Christian Fellowship for a while. I was working in the evangelism department, so um, we brought him on as a contracted worker. Probably I was like, I know he can respond well. He captures emotion. He can capture ethnic diversity. He actually works very quickly, and actually can take feedback about design. So ended up doing all these projects together. Some of my former supervisor, he's like, still some of the most effective evangelism tools we made are the things that Shin worked on. So I love that. I think when we decided to move, right, that meant him being like, I can't bring my paints, I can't bring all my supplies. I'm closing all these doors to, different avenues. And so he basically put his career on hold so that I could do my studies. Yeah, we're like, okay, we're gonna use our savings, try to make life work. And so as I was finishing my studies, the last year, this is not quite the well, during the last year, right? It's intense. And we do this thing where our spiritual director, she kind of encouraged us to dream with each other, to
Mm.
do 5 minutes of dreaming, no critique, no interruption. And so we've been doing that. That's what brought us to Scotland. And Shin said, like, if I could draw children's books, if I could be a children's book illustrator, I'd be so happy. And I was like, my beloved has like endured so many years of cross-cultural life, of like life as an immigrant. I'm like, we are gonna make this happen. And so while finishing my PhD, we got an agent. She got us, like, she was also Korean American. She got us some really great contracts. Penguin Random House somehow said yes to both books. So it was a
Oh,
2-book contract. And so it happened, and for me, it was like he honored my dreams and my calling, and I really wanted to honor his. So that's kind of this longer journey and path of how we got there.
my. Oh,
Love it.
Oh yeah,
this
he was
needs
like,
to
I
be
want you to
the
work with me.
basis of a K drama.
Yeah,
I feel it
exactly.
coming. Yes.
Somebody,
Oh, so
Netflix, pick
beautiful.
this up.
So
We haven't even told you how we got together, but that's okay.
That's a whole other story.
Oh my goodness.
we'll do
Woman
that
Art
when we
Part 2.
promote when the book comes out in the spring.
Yeah.
So much of what we talk about in sort of as writers or artists to work from our own experiences. So I'm actually curious, how are the characters or scenes in the book reflecting part of your own childhood, or even as you've talked about some of this, your own cultural heritage?
I kind of wanted, so the main character of the Christmas book, this one, I wanted the main character to look like my daughter. And so when I was drawing it, I was like, she would be like, "That's me," and then she would like scurry away. And I wanted a children's book that my daughter could look at and be like, that's me, and I'm a part of this story, this larger story. And I also put flares of my Korean heritage, because I think ethnos is a part of the biblical story. And I have this Korean woman in full yangban dress, and even in the concept art I always added Korean yangban clothing and all this stuff. And one of the wise men is a yangban. So they're from the Far East. You can just like say, where are they from? They could be from Korea. They were astrologers too as well. So in many ways, now my favorite one is actually this one where he's pointing up, and it's just like and I just, but it's also ethnically diverse even in the wise men. I don't know if that's accurate, but there's a part of me that's like, this is my story as well as everyone else's story. Why can't we put a little bit of a twist?
Hey, you can't make me cry on a live webinar, man. That's too much. You need to prep me for these things. So good. Oh my goodness.
I think for us, like, we both had a lot of investment from both Korean American spaces, Asian American brothers and sisters, Black American pastors and mentors. Our spiritual director that's walked with us for more than a decade now. She's white. She's like kind of she's a descendant of, like, I think Dutch royalty or something. But like, she's been a really faithful shepherd of us. We've like basically been like older brother or sister to number of Latino brother, like younger siblings at church, and so for us, we are like we want to bring the gifts of our story, of our values, and our heritage, but we also want to then create a book that can be a gift to those,
Amen.
right? To all these people that are part of the village that has raised us. We're like we're Korean American, we own it, we're proud of it, but we also want to bring that gift as a gift to the village, and we wanted for people and children and families to see themselves in this book, whether whether whatever skin tone, whatever phenotype, but also whatever ethnicity or race that they
Yeah.
have, so that they could imagine themselves in the story and they could also give it to others. Our daughter's school is like the UN. It's so diverse, even though Scotland's like 97% white. Aberdeen itself is very diverse, and so we're
Wow.
like, hey, wouldn't it be great if she can give it to her friend that's Nigerian or Malawian, and they can see themselves
And they
in
can
the
see
story.
themselves.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, she said all the
No,
things.
Beautiful.
so
Beautiful.
yeah, and I'm like, if people painted angels as like pale blonde, blue eyed, we're like, we're gonna paint angels a different way because the reality is angels aren't human, right? We're just using our imaginations to
Yeah.
depict things, and so on this page, a lot of kids like some girls will be like, "Mommy, whose hair do you like the most?" And like we get all these stories from different kids, and it's
Yeah.
delighted us.
I mean, it's so good because if you think about like just the imagination that gets created, as opposed to otherwise, if we only see one version, we're like, oh, even in heaven, everyone's going to be white. So it
Mhm.
doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah. I love that. What was your process of like trying to, or maybe the logic or maybe the heart logic behind the way in which you wanted to tell the story of Jesus's birth or the resurrection? Like,
Mhm.
you tell it, I've read both of them, and you tell it in a very unique way, and without giving away, I don't know, I don't even know how much we can give away.
I mean, Jesus he passes away and he rises again. So just FYI. I mean, if
Just
any
FYI.
spoiler,
alert.
oh man.
So, but your unique perspective, it's just so unique though, the lens that you choose
Yeah,
to tell the story through.
I think so. So something viewers should know is that in the Christmas book, we made up a figure, a character that's the grandniece to this lady, Anna. And Anna actually shows up in Luke 2. She's the prophetess
Prophetess. Yeah.
that foretell is that she's like
Simeon
so
and
she
Anna.
meets Jesus when he's getting circumcised. So Simeon, and is that right? Simeon and
Simeon and
um,
Anna. Yeah.
yeah, and Anna. And so so we were like, what if she had a grandniece? Because a lot of people focus when they're giving children stories for Christmas stories. They'll kind of tell from the perspective of animals, yeah, or they'll tell it from this other perspective, or they'll reinvent it. And I'm like, well, then for us, we really wanted our daughter and readers to understand the story of Jesus' coming in connection to the larger story of Scripture. So we're like, so if Anna is the one telling Annika all these stories about the people of God and telling her that the deliverer, the Messiah is coming, we're like, we want to show that faith is passed down through generations, the stories of elders like forming their young ones,
Yes.
and to connect that. And so I think I knew what he was capable of, right? I'm like, I know he can draw all this crazy, right? So I was like, all right, let's like maximize like stories and Easter eggs being
Yeah.
depicted. And so we made up this character that goes to the story, like gets to meet the angels, the wise men, shepherds, all that. And then because Anna gets to meet Jesus, that and then right, and then these two, and then later finally this girl gets to meet Jesus after
Mm.
waiting for years, and just kind of capturing that sense of waiting. I think then for the Easter book, then we have that girl grow up and she's the mom, and she has a daughter named Anastasia. And again, right, these are fictional characters, but it's a real story, right?
Yeah.
The coming of Jesus is a real story, but it's through this fictional character's perspective, and we wanted to continue that. And so in the Easter one, the mom is the one that's telling the girl these stories, right? And so this one is about dreams. Yeah? She's telling the girl different dreams that their people have had, and then Anastasia dreams about them. And one of like probably one of our favorite pictures is this. This is Ezekiel 37,
Yeah.
right? The life into like the valley of dry bones. And this is
Mhm.
where the Great Waking Up, the title of the Easter book, comes from, because her Anastasia, the character's favorite story, is the Great Waking Up. That when the deliverer comes, that God is going to breathe life into the bones of the dead and raise his people to be with him forever. So we wanted to connect the larger story of scripture to these very significant events of Jesus' birth and Jesus' death and resurrection, and for readers to hear that, so that it's not just like Christmas is special. You wait, there's a star and there's presents.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. Or like, oh, there's a cross and an empty tomb.
And also, like, we kind of have this whole like glossary of like all the little passages that occur, and we give them the verses to like for families to go back together and be like, tell me more about that story, or like let's read through this story or this thing, because I think parents also struggle, like, how do I do Bible study with my kid or do all this stuff, and they're already have a busy life. This book can also just really be a place where kids can just learn and just
Mm.
and I think that there's also a curiosity right now. I mean, it's like I don't know if it's not, I don't think it's revival yet or anything, but like there's people that are just like really, really interested in faith. And
Yeah.
there is something about, we need to have more books for kids.
Yeah.
When they grow up, they're going to remember these things. Like one of my professors at Gordon Conwell, Dr. Sung Park, he's an old Testament professor, and his Sunday school programming I think he was an immigrant in Paraguay. Those stories of the Sunday school made him remember, and then as an adult come to faith again, and then somehow have a conversion moment in like by himself. But like, you need these stories for
Yeah.
kids when they grow up, because
That's
it
right.
could be a lasting thing long term.
That's
Yeah.
right. Oh my
And
goodness.
like I think for the Easter book also, like there's a number of times where the girl Anastasia asks her mom, now grown Annika, she's like, what's gonna happen? And mom says, I don't know. And like, how are we going to have the great waking up if Jesus says, like, I don't know? And I think also there's something about parents being able to say, I trust in this God and I do not have all the answers. And
That's
so
right.
we really wanted to depict faith that endures through trials, right? That doesn't have all the answers, but still hopes and believes. I think especially now in the midst of so much happening in the US and around the world, to depict that. We we
Yeah,
really wanted to depict a faith that isn't something that kids have to discard when they're older because it doesn't work for them anymore. But
that's
like,
right.
let's give them things they can build on. That feels really important.
That's so, I'm
I
glad you pointed that part out because that part of the book struck me. Like
Mm.
it was very like I paused when the mother character says, I don't know.
Mhm.
And I was like, what? uh,
You're like
yeah.
sacrilege, blasphemy.
No, but it was such a beautiful moment. It was almost freeing. It
that's a
was
good
not
word.
almost, it was
Yeah,
freeing for me as a
Mhm.
parent to
That's right.
read those words
Mhm.
in a children's book, and healing, coming back to that word healing. And so thank you for thinking through that so thoughtfully,
Mhm.
um, even for parents. And also, the illustrations are so beautiful. And I feel like oftentimes,
Mm.
I used to be in children's ministry. And so
Oh, okay.
I feel like sometimes, like the children's coloring books or, the things that I had resources or access to, it wasn't as quality.
Mhm.
And so when I was flipping through or just scrolling through the pages because I have the PDF version, I was like flabbergasted. I don't know. I was like shocked at the beauty and the quality of the illustrations for children. And it's not just for children; it's for families, like you said, and for just even people without children. Oftentimes the volunteers in children's ministry would say that they learn more from the children's sermons than they do from the adult sermons. I felt like that with your book when I was reading it. I was like, oh gosh, everybody could benefit from
Yeah.
purchasing these books, not just
It's
families.
it's so interesting because the buzzword increasingly, it seems, here in evangelical spaces is intergenerational
Yeah.
ministry. But I mean, you've baked it into this work, and you've bookended the two books with Christmas and Easter into
Yeah.
family, which I think a lot of us will intuitively understand that this is passed down, as you said, generation to generation. And I love how that it really came together in these two books. But on that note, what's next? Is there a future story that would be connected? Could you give us a little insight of what you're dreaming about together, of what
Well,
you want to tell us next?
there's two ideas. I'll share one, and Shin will share another one. If we could do a third follow-up, what we'd
Yeah.
love to do is the promised gift, like the Holy Spirit and Pentecost. Because that would be so fun, right? Could you imagine like they're
Oh,
waiting and there's like
oh,
fire,
yeah.
But these first two books have to do well in order for us to then like pursue
A third book.
a third one.
Yeah.
But that's an idea.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then Shin has one that he's thinking about for a while.
Yeah, so I have a very traditional immigrant story of growing up with, parents that don't want their kids to be artists. I as a parent now, I totally get it. It's scary. It's there's not a lot of wiggle room for stuff. But I grew up drawing. I was the only one creative in my family. It's been a journey, and whenever I do talk about my art and my art journey with parachurch ministries, churches, or whatever, and usually it's like I'm talking to like college students or high school students, and then the parents, after my talk, the parents come up to me afterwards, or the staff person or whatever, and they're like, I have a child who's artistic and I have no clue, or blah 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 blah. I don't want to mess them up. And I've been
They say that a lot.
I
actually.
don't want to mess up my
Yeah.
kid. I don't want to.
Oh,
And I've seen so many stories of living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where there's just loads and loads of high achieving people.
Yeah.
And I meet so many Asian Americans where they come up to me and they find out that I'm an artist, and they'll have this longingly look of like, I used to do this thing. I used to be an artist or a musician, and now I'm, like a computer engineer for Google or whatever, which is awesome still. But it's like there's like this dream that had died.
Hmm.
And I kind of want to draw almost like an alternate universe of me. And it's Sam loves to draw. Maybe it's that, maybe it's not. I don't know. But it's about this character who has parents that have a struggle with their child who's very, very generative and maybe paints a little bit too much, a little too aggressively on the walls, a little too aggressively on everything, which I kind of did. And instead of and maybe having the struggle of what do I do with my kid,
Yeah.
but also at the same time submitting to the Lord and saying, hey, I'm praying to a living God that has clearly my kid has a gift. What do I do?
That's
So
right.
it's like this family praying and figuring out together how to encourage our the gifts that we have, especially the visual art giftings. And so I've been like thinking about doing this for like a decade or so.
I mean, there's something so profoundly deep and poignant about what you're saying. Both projects are absolutely need to be done, but with this one, you're talking about like Asian American parents. Let's just go there to say,
Mhm.
well, are these gifts that ought to be supported and cultivated, or should we stifle them so that you could go to med school? Right? I mean, can it be both? I mean, I'm in Los Angeles and I attend Citizens. We like to say we have a lot of dreamers in the city of Los Angeles, and certainly at our church. And a lot of starving artists. Some are successful, but I mean, a lot are just trying to make it and hold to their dreams well past their 20s. And it's so neat to be able to encourage them to say, no, I think God wants you to explore these gifts rather than giving up and say, I've got to just take office job. So, I mean, so incredibly encouraging, but it's against this backdrop of parental pressures,
Yeah.
oftentimes from parents who are Christians,
Yeah.
who would then reinforce that spiritual layer of power. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, so
Yeah.
good.
It
I
is.
think
Also,
oh
no, go.
yeah, I
Go.
think we both worked with a lot of Asian
Mhm.
American young adults, right?
Yeah.
And I think the hard thing, right, is that so many of our parents sacrifice their dreams and make the
Yeah.
children thriving their dream, right? And then that gift becomes prison, right? And it's a strict
Wow.
Say
prevent.
that.
Yeah, like and so we see that, like we've
Mhm.
seen that so much. And so part of me is like there's a whole journey there of being able to honor the sacrifice, right? And the sacrifice of a dream so that this other dream with our children could happen. But then also in terms of honoring those who are trying to like obey and not actually listen to what God might be saying, there is a struggle there of actually saying, like, I want to honor you, but if I honor you at the expense of the dream that God has placed in me, if that dream dies, then I am disobeying God. And that is more costly than disobeying you. That's the whole discipleship journey that Asian Americans need to go on, and that Christians in general need to go on. But because of the sacrifice of our elders or our parents, it just feels so hard then to pursue this dream that has no promise of success, right? Whole discipleship journey that needs to happen. And for us, being encouraged to cultivate our dreams was something that pressed us to where we are now. And I'm not saying like we've landed, everything's good. Like there's a lot of unknowns, but we're grateful to have been encouraged to pursue our dreams.
Yeah. I think that's so beautiful. I mean, I'm one of those that you're talking about where I had to give up a dream of becoming a ballerina. Yeah, that was my
So
dream.
make a book.
I gotta make a book about that.
Okay. Yeah, I
Julie
wanted
loves to dance.
Yes.
Oh yeah. And that was my goal, was to go to Juilliard and just become an artist, you know. And I went to college and went the pre-med route. So the typical person we're talking about right now, and dropped out because I didn't understand any of um, the chemistry, the periodic table stuff. I was like, what is going on with this periodic? But yeah, and it's a dream that I think about still, you know, in my late 40s, and just wondering like, I wonder if I could, what expression of that dream I could still kind of live out in these days. But I love that you both are um role models in a way. Like you are refreshing to me as an Asian
Amen.
American couple. um you're both very adventurous, and also you're confident in your giftings, and are walking down paths individually and also together. We don't see a lot of Asian Americans doing what you two do. And so for me, that's super inspiring. And I am excited for young Asian American kids to see this book, see your books, and know that the author and illustrator are both Asian American. I think that is like mind blowing.
Right.
Yeah.
If I can add one more piece, I think if there are some Asian Americans who, follow their dreams and do things that are quote unquote alternative in their decisions, maybe they don't identify as Christians, but you are deeply rooted in your faith, and it's your faith in Jesus that's motivated you to do the things that you're doing. That's the other piece that is really powerful. It's not just doing it for the sake of following my dreams. I feel like you're leaning into what the Lord has given you in terms of gifting, and so you're fulfilling the stewardship part of what you're called to do. That's the piece that I think for Asian American Christians should really pick up and understand.
Yeah.
감사합니다. It's a blessing, you know. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go cry now.
We've made Shin speechless.
You know?
I love it.
I,
I love it.
I think for us, like the desire really is to bless the church.
Mm.
I think part of the thing keeping us in Scotland is, right, there's a novelty factor. We don't look like a lot of Americans. There's a lot of Americans that come through Scotland, but we don't look like them. A lot of East Asians that they encounter as they're coming through, but we don't sound like them. And so Shin is like Mr. Mayor. Like the Scots love him. The schoolyard, he's high-fiving all the kids. And the kind of spiritual conversations we've been able to have with people that are so scarred from the church that wouldn't ever trust a Christian, but the novelty of how we look and sound.
And the food.
And the food, yeah. I mean, he makes such good Yum chicken. Like Korean fried chicken is like so excellent. And so we've just been able to share about faith and Jesus in a way that actually I feel like it's refreshing and needed. Um, and we both cared so much about sharing the good news in a way that isn't just about like numbers, right? Or some sort of weird, like we actually really care about people being transformed. We deeply believe in it. So then that meeting, like, our gifts and that hopefully blessing the church, we're just been so grateful. We're like for some reason, Penguin Random House was like, yes, sign us up for 2 books. I'm like, oh, okay. I hope that investment pays off for you. But we've been so grateful.
Yeah.
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 Honestly, it's just, I am just grateful for you guys, that you guys have this collective that is
Yeah.
about leadership and Asian
Yeah.
American leadership and Christian Asian American leadership that is, I think it's really necessary because I didn't really grow up with like just like a collective of Asian American stuff. Like I think I got a lot of healing through the Black community, and but through that it was like, hey, like you have an ethnicity, Shin, you're not Black, right? And I'm like, I know, right? It's like you need to get healing about that too. And so through just years and years of just kind of navigating losslessly, and then finally at like Gordon Conwell there was like much more like healing, and going to like High Rock Covenant Church in Boston, it really gave me more of a space of, oh, okay, this is where I am as a Korean American, not as just like I want to co-opt kind of Black American culture
That's right.
into my own narrative, because like it's very different, and and the challenges are different too. But I think there's such a while we're here in Scotland, I think we're really equipped to just like, I'm loving on Nigerian immigrant kids that are like university age, and they're like talking about the struggles of being an immigrant, and I totally understand. I'm like, oh, I can totally get what you're going
But
through.
they don't realize that what they have is the second generation child of an immigrant struggle. And so he's like basically reading their mail, like, how do you know? It's like, because I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like to have a parent from a different country try to make life work. I know the pressure, right? And so we're like, or it's just using all these things.
Yeah. So it's a blessing. I really love it. I think everyone should visit Scotland, but the Scottish people might not like it, but we'll accept you guys.
Yay! We're in. Hey, in the last several minutes we have together, I would love to hear from both of you. Um, as families pick up these books, they're doing their nighttime routine, and they're in bed all cozied up, and they're opening up, one book or the other. What would you say to them in terms of how you would want them to experience the book, or how to engage the book in a way that's transformative? I don't know if it's advice, but what spirit should they approach these books with?
I think for me, I wrote knowing that he was gonna draw it. Like that was like for me, I wrote anticipating that he was gonna draw the stories. And so when you're reading the book with the kids, like take your time. When they're like, what's that story? And you could be like, oh, that was like Esther. And I'm like, what's that? What? Tell me about that story. Or that was Miriam, or that's when the walls of Jericho fell down, or different things. And one of my friends, his daughter will be like, she loves the Christmas book. Like, and she wants to read it every single day. And she'll ask, Daddy, can you tell me a story that from a picture from memory? Like, tell me about that. So I would just linger on the page. Like,
Mm,
don't rush. If your kid wants to like examine the detail, if they want to ask you, like, that's an opportunity where the pictures can invite actually this deeper discussion and storytelling,
mm,
and use the visuals as prompts. And if you don't know the story, there's a guide in the back and you can just go look it up, you
yeah.
know. So I would just savor
That's
the years of being able to read with your kid and to your kid. They fly by quickly, right? And to just savor it. So we're hoping that these pages help savor, you know, that
Yeah.
time.
That's good.
And
beautiful.
I think like the way I draw is I love Easter eggs. That's like one of my favorite parts of drawing. And so I want kids to be curious. I want them also to be in awe. I think there's this curiosity slash awe, and that is actually the life of being a Christian. Always being curious of, and then also being in awe of like how big and amazing and powerful God can be. Um, and so there's this like I want, it's like this is almost like I want kids to like have that challenge so that as they grow up, they're like, oh, there's a curiosity. I need to be curious. Like I need questions. And I also need to be in awe of like how
Yeah.
like the liturgy or the words or the things that they're seeing at church or in church or the communities that are part of, seeing God in a particular way. And so there's the, for me it's the curiosity and awe, because I love when a kid, I remember this one kid, he came up to me with the book, um and he asked me like, what does this mean? And it's I literally um it's this part right here is like, why is there a bee hive and why are there flowers and
Yeah.
what's this about? And he didn't ever, and this is just, I don't think I even told Sarah this, but it's literally the promised land, the milk and honey. Like
Uh-huh.
there's hills, and then there's honey, and there's fruit, and there's flowers, and this is the promised land. It's like it kind of ends here at the promised land, and this little child had just been just just
Wow.
I'm curious, like I have to go to the source and talk to this guy. And there's a
Incredible.
part of me that's like, I'm like, wow, okay, like this kid is really putting in the time, but we need to be curious.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's
Amen.
beautiful. I love that.
Oof.
Linger and be curious. That is a word for all of us as we head
Amen.
towards the end of 2025.
Amen.
And I did share links to both of your both of the landing pages for these books, so you can purchase them and purchase hundreds of them, please, for
Amen.
everybody that you know. I actually am gonna purchase these for my son, who is 21 years old, guys, but he has never read these stories from this particular
That's
perspective.
right. That's
And
right.
so, if you have any children younger than 21, please, I mean, come on, you have to buy these.
You can get it for your I don't know, grandparent, like our
Yeah.
Yeah,
friends, our daughter's best friend's grandma.
Yep.
Like
yeah,
I think she
that's it.
received one of these from one of them.
And
Yeah.
she reads it all the time. She has it on her coffee table. Not a Christian, but still,
but
it's just like,
but she burst into tears the first time
yeah,
she got to the end, and
Oh,
so we're like, hey, if this helps you start conversations
Oof.
with pretty pictures,
buy
simple
two,
words,
buy
you know.
four,
Amen.
give it
yes.
to your friends. But also, these are like great for like the coffee table, you know, like just have a conversation starter, just let it be there, you know. And I
Yeah.
think I wanted to draw it so it's not like there's no hate on, oh, I don't really enjoy Peppa Pig, but like, you know, it's not like Peppa Pig, which that always hates on the dad, which that's my little qualm about Peppa Pig.
Mhm.
But this is not that. This is beautifully well crafted. Many hours and many tears have been poured into
Beautiful.
these books. Yeah,
Yes.
I hope
They
that.
are
Well,
beautiful.
I'm moonlighting here. I'm at the Korean American Ministry Initiative office at Fuller's Asian American Center, and this is where Shin, your artwork is permanently displayed. But I'm going to have to put it on my table, copies of the book, so that people can pick it up and read it. So I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
doing that, as well as having
Yes.
copies for my own and others. So
Yeah.
beautiful,
Well,
beautiful.
Sarah and Shin, you've been amazing. You are amazing. We're so excited for these books, and we hope everybody goes out and buys both of them. Thanks for spending time with us today. We learned
Yeah,
so much
thank
from you
you.
So
each time.
fun.
It was such a blast. Maybe we could do another one. I don't know, closer to Easter, and promote
That's
this
true.
your other book again. Because I'm Alex and I have more questions, personal ones that we just want you to share with the public. So, Alex, what a blast, brother.
Thanks,
Okay,
Yuli.
I can't do this really well.
Almost.
I know, almost. All
I'm
right,
gonna take away
everybody.
your Korean card.
I
gotta-
gotta practice my thumb screen.
I know this. Okay, bye everyone. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.